scrappy people, it's Traci Reed here today, and we are going to be scrap lifting my good friend Cheryl for TRD Scrap Lift Saturday, and I'm going to be scrap lifting this beautiful layout with all these gorgeous hexagons, and we are starting in Photoshop because I'm going to show you how to create custom text paths and hexagons in Photoshop. So first of all, we're going to use our polygon tool and make sure that there is no star ratio, and it has 6 sides to create a hexagon. I'm going to turn this black so it's easy to see, and I'm just going to drag a guide in the middle here so I know where the middle of my page is, and I'm just duplicating these hexagons while I drag them by holding down Command and Option at the same time, or Control Alt. And I'm just starting with a bunch of them that I will sort of rework as I go along. I'm not going to copy Cheryl's layout perfectly because first of all, Cheryl sells amazing digital templates, and this is one of her digital templates. So if you're interested in them, I will definitely leave a link in the blog post. But now I'm going to create a placeholder for my photo. So I just added in a 2.75 by 3.75 photo. That's typically the size photo I like to use in this size page. And this is the photo I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be pairing it with my digital freebie, Here Comes the Sun. Here Comes the Sun was the 2021 free collection, and it is retiring on March 15th. So if you are interested in that collection, there is a link in the description box as well. You need to pick that up before the 2022 freebie comes out. So now you can see I'm just aligning these hexagons so that I can get like a pattern that I like. I looked at Cheryl's layout again, and I need a place for my title, so I'm going to delete that hexagon and I'm going to put my title in here. Now I need to add in a few text box. I'm not going to do all 10 like Cheryl has. I'm going to do 7 text box. So I'm choosing which ones I want to have text in them. The other ones I will put patterns or journal cards in. So I'm going to turn these white with a little bit of a black outline just so that I can see the edges. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a title placeholder here so that I don't forget that I'm putting a title there. I'm going to delete it, and it's not going to be part of the page, but I just want to make sure that I have like a place here that I remember that I'm putting a title. So the next thing that I need to do is add in my text boxes, and in order to do that, I'm just going to select one of these hexagons after I move these around. I'm going to select one of these hexagons, and I'm going to Command click the layer thumbnail of the hexagon over here in the layers palette. So I'm going to choose it, Command click, and that gives me the marching ants around the text box. And then I'm going to modify contract. I'm going to contract it by 20 pixels, and that's going to give me an inset hexagon. I go over to my paths palette up here, right there, and click the create path icon, and that gave me a hexagon path that's slightly smaller than the actual hexagon. And I can add in my text just by clicking in there with the text tool, and I'm changing the font to my preferred 12-point Splendid 66 font that I use for everything. And now we are ready to go. I'm going to copy and paste it onto the hexagons that I'm going to have text on, and you can see that this is the middle of my page. And since I cut my pages in half for a Life Crafted album, I need to make sure that my text clears the middle by about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to edit this text path by clicking on the points with my Delete Point tool, and then going up here to these top and bottom points and using my Convert Point tool to take away the curve that automatically creates when you delete a point. Then I'm going to use my direct selection tool. I'm going to select both of these points by holding down shift. Then I'm going to drag the text box slightly to the right so that it clears that edge. I also did that with the text box around my photo too. So now I can turn off all of these text box so that they do not become a part of my text file. I made the background black, and I'm going to merge all of these hexagons so that they are one layer, and then I'm going to Command click the merged layer. Oh, I'm moving these just slightly because they were a little bit off center. But now I'm going to merge all of these hexagons by hitting Command E. I'm going to Command click the layer thumbnail and then turned them off and then deleted that selection from the background. And now I can save this as a PNG file and take it over to my silhouette. Before I do that, I'm going to turn this layer off and turn all of my text box back on with all of my journaling, and I'm going to print them directly on paper as is. And I'm going to be layering this cut file over just a plain white sheet of paper rather than cutting out each individual hexagon and reassembling them. And we will talk about why that was a little bit of a mistake here in a second when I go over to the scrapbooking portion of this video, but it works out fine. So I'm just going to print it on 8.5 by 11 paper, which I will trim down to the Life Crafted size of 8.25 by 5 or by 10. But then I'm going to take this cut file over to Silhouette. I'm going to open it up in Silhouette, and of course I saved it horizontally, so I'm going to have to rotate it and fit it to the page. Now you can print and cut at this point and drag and drop a patterned paper into this cut file, but I already just printed an 8.5 by 11 paper that I wanted to use, so I'm just going to cut this directly on the paper that I already printed. I find it easier sometimes than print and cut. But yeah, so now it's ready to cut, and we are going to go into the scrapbooking portion of this video. All right, so I've got it printed and I've got my photo printed. You can see I have this all cut out. And one thing I didn't take into account because I'm a dork is that I'm going to be cutting right down the middle of here. So these little tiny lines, I'm not going to be able to pop up like I was planning, like I was going to pop everything up to create some depth. Not a big deal, a little bit annoying just because I didn't think about it. But you can see that my journaling fits in here perfectly. My photo will fit in here perfectly as well. I'm going to add a title here. It's actually going to be color cast, not veneer, color cast acrylic. That's what I was going to do, because look at how pretty that is with that collection. And then I have some stickers and things printed out for this page, and I think it's going to come out really gorgeous. One thing I wanted to note is that look at how gorgeous these are. I need to do something with them. I have all these beautiful hexagons that are like rainbows. This is going to be a really pretty project too. Gonna put that aside for now though, even though it's probably way too inspiring for me to not think about it while I make this page. So here we go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, glue this down using as much adhesive as possible. I'm going to line it up perfectly, and then I will trim the paper. There we go. So you can see when I cut the thing down, of course, I have all of those loose little edges, so I'm going to have to glue those down with liquid glue. But first I'm going to stick these hexagons under here that I pre-cut with other papers from Here Comes the Sun. One of them is a journaling card. I did this in Photoshop, but you could just use a piece of pattern paper and, use the cut file as a stencil as well. But because I haven't glued down the edges yet, I can easily just slip these cards and these hexagons into the spot. You can see that I did pretty well with my text box. I only took out the H in happy, and you can definitely still read that, so I'm super impressed with my guesstimation there. Okay, so I've got all these put down. I'm going to cut it in half again, reapply my holes to what I just put down, and there we go. Now we are ready to start building our layout. I have this photo, and I'm going to back it with this black and white paper from Here Comes the Sun. I like the black and white with the black and white text, and also I'm going to be adding a lot of color in, so just a good, nice, neutral black and white matte was perfect. So now I'm going to be putting down this My Story, and at this point I did not know, like I had some embellishments printed out, but I decided that I want to add in some more of the color cast acrylic, because I get out my acrylic and realize that there's a rainbow. Duh. I have another rainbow left. It's the perfect colors for this collection, so I'm going to use that. So first I'm going to put down all of these embellishments, and then I'm of course going to rearrange because that is how I roll. So I'm popping up the butterflies on Pop Dots. The butterflies are from the digital kit portion of the Here Comes the Sun collection. There are videos on my blog, tutorials in the tutorials and the FAQ section about making your own print sheets in Silhouette and in Photoshop for digital kit embellishments. But the rest of these embellishments are from the printable sheets, the sticker sheets. I am using some of these circular embellishments because Cheryl had circular cutouts on her page, but I did not mimic those. I just did the hexagon, so I'm kind of putting down the circular embellishments as a nod to her page. So now you can see I am incorporating the acrylic rainbow. Cute. Now, I used liquid glue to put those down, and they definitely popped off later, so that's something to keep in mind. The red line tape that I used to put down my story worked perfectly. I have some friends who said that their adhesive, their regular adhesive, works great for adhering acrylic, so, but the liquid glue definitely did not hold, so something to think about. Though I am definitely regretting using red line tape here in a second for that My Story because I wanted to slip something underneath it, and oh man, it was a pain. So I decided that I need to definitely explain what is going on in my journaling because I use the title My Story but then have like a list in my journaling. So I'm going to use these labels to spell out or to add like a subtitle that says 7 things making me happy right now, and that makes me happy. It looks good. I like it. So the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some of these iridescent stars to this page. Adding stars to a page with rainbows seems a little bit odd, except stars are definitely my thing. They've always been my thing since I was really young, so stars really make sense for my own personality, so it works. But they are beautiful and iridescent, and they just kind of shimmer in the light, and I love them. So this page is all done after I get these sequins down. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There's a link to the Scrap Lift blog post in the description box below. All right, thank you.